Hello? Can you hear me?
Yo, what's up, Tipster? We were
Hey.
just having a heated debate about Billy Mitchell.
So where was the confusion? You mentioned that like you weren't sure how he cheated or whatever.
Well, so what I was basically saying was, is there basically like there's no evidence that exists that Billy Mitchell was using like things that made the game itself faster. He was just using an emulator and then also splicing the footage. Like, how much footage did he splice? Was it just like one cut or a few cuts, or was the whole thing just like all fucked up?
So the allegation wasn't even necessarily that like he spliced. It's that because he was allegedly playing on emulator, he had the potential to splice there because there's like certain cheats and stuff you can do on an emulator, obviously, that you can't do on like original hardware. So when you're competing in the original hardware category of Donkey Kong, you have to play on original hardware. You can't use an emulator. So even something as simple as like you might have played legitimately, but if it wasn't on original hardware, that can disqualify you from the category that he was playing in, which was the original hardware category.
And there is multiple categories. There's like an original hardware category and an emulator category. And he submitted.
Yeah, they do have a separate category for emulators. You
Okay.
can play and you can achieve world records on an emulator as long as you're not using like any cheat methods or splicing to achieve those scores.
So he knowingly submitted, or at least the allegation is that he knowingly submitted an emulator run, which could have been cheating, or splice, excuse me, to the original hardware run to get the record for an original hardware run.
Yeah, that's the allegation. Essentially, what somebody did was they slowed down the loading screens for the different levels, and like the way the levels load on an emulator or on like non-official hardware is different from official hardware. And so some people noticed the discrepancies in the way the level was loading, and based on that, they were able to kind of like come to this conclusion that we believe that he may not have played this legitimately and potentially played it on emulation.
Emulation. And then did Billy like how did he respond to that? Did he deny it? Did he like what was his like general like at least immediately like when this was discovered? Was he like, so what? Or was he like, how did he respond
So
to that?
he obviously like insisted that he was innocent the whole time. And so like Twin Galaxies, the organization that tracked the scores, they said they were going to investigate it further to determine if this was on legitimate hardware or not. And he hired his own investigator to investigate it on his end, his defense. And the funniest thing about the outcome of that is both his investigator and Twin Galaxies came to the same conclusion that while they couldn't necessarily say he played on MAME, it definitely wasn't official hardware, and therefore his scores were disqualified. So even the guy he hired to come to his defense came to the same conclusion.
So the guy he hired said it's not original hardware. He submitted a false.
But if it wasn't original hardware or MAME, what would it have been?
I mean, there's obviously things like bootleg boards or reproduction boards like of the arcades. Like if you look at most modern day arcades, because the original hardware for these things is hard to come by, right? It's starting to get old. It's starting to fail. The chips are hard to come by to replace any that you need to repair. So there's tons of reproduction boards out there, and they're fine if you're just looking to have fun and play a quick game with friends. But when you're playing competitively, it has to be the original hardware.
Okay, so it's like 8-bit. Like, what are those arcades that Tommy C has? Like, would those be like reproduction boards?
So those, I actually have some of those as well. Those are the arcade one-ups.
Yeah.
Those run off emulation. They run off like a mini computer, kind of similar to like a Raspberry Pi, and they're emulating the original hardware in order to allow you to play it on those devices. So no, those aren't even original hardware as well.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, well, I think I'm
pretty much any modern implementation of these games is through emulation or some type of similar reproduction of it.
Yeah.
It's only the original old school arcades that are all original hardware.
So is there any chance that Billy Mitchell accidentally submitted his record to a original hardware record thing, or is that if the case is true that was like malicious? Like he maliciously tried to.
That was always a theory that I had, because there's no arguing that like Billy is a good player. If you've ever watched him play live, because he does stream his gameplay live on Twitch sometimes, he does play very well. And he's even been able to re-achieve some of the scores that people said that he cheated on live on stream. So my theory has always been, and I got a lot of shit from people for this because like so many people, they just wanted to like blindly hate Billy. I was just a guy covering the story. So my theory was always that it's possible, because he's not like a technical expert. He probably went to an event and played on a machine that he assumed the people who provided it were providing a legitimate machine, and it wasn't a legitimate machine. So that was always my theory. I don't know if that's the case, but that was kind of what I theorized. Is like maybe he thought he was playing on a legit machine,
and then he doubled down
because he didn't even know how to swap the boards himself, because he was competing on at one event. He set a score on the original Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr., and both of those, like the same arcade cabinet, is compatible with both boards. So he had someone swap the board for him because he didn't know how to. So he's not very technologically minded, enough to do this on his own. So it's very possible he was playing on an illegitimate machine and didn't even know.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Interesting.
But even so, it doesn't matter if it was like a mistake or something like that. The reality is, if it's not an official machine, then they can't accept the score.
Right.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
record is false regardless.
Well,
Yeah.
damn, it looks like
Yeah.
I won.
I think it's a pretty fair middle ground actually between it. The record was
Yeah.
proven by his own guy to not be real, like not be on a real machine. But it's
That was
possible
the
that he wasn't
craziest
like
thing. I actually talked to the guy, and he said that Billy got really upset with him when he came to that conclusion. He's like, "Look, you told me just investigate it myself and let you know what my findings are."
Yeah.
And my findings were in agreement with what Twin Galaxies found. So
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Yeah. Oh, and then what is it?
Yeah.
What is speaking of Twin Galaxies? How does that record work? Like the quote unquote reinstated record on Twin Galaxies. Like what does that mean specifically? Because he has one from like 2014 or something, right?
I don't think Twin Galaxies reinstated any of his records. I haven't kept up with like the latest in regards to developments on this story. It's been like ages since I covered it.
That's fair. 'Cause we looked it up.
So
and-
it's possible some scores got reinstated, and I don't know. I know that Guinness reinstated his scores
Yeah.
after he like threatened to take legal action against him, and I guess as part of their settlement, they reinstated his scores or something like that.
yeah. Okay.
Interesting. Well, shit. I mean, I don't know if we have
I
anything.
think that's what we
yeah,
want to know. I think so.
I think that was all it, dude. Fucking
Dude,
thank you.
Tippy W, dude.
Yeah, Tipster W,
No
guys.
problem.
All
I
right.
did see somebody in chat asking about Apollo, or rather Carl's video, his comments on Apollo and Billy. I'll say that, Carl's a good friend, so obviously I'm not going to slag off Carl. I
Right.
think he's a good dude, and I think his intentions were well. I just think he got a little, big-headed, which happens sometimes, right?
Yeah.
But I remember at the time when that video came out, I don't remember exactly what I said, so I'm paraphrasing here, but it was something along the lines of, I don't think it was a good idea to make that comment about, Apollo in that video. I don't
yeah.
think that was a good idea.
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy, looking at how things played out, that's what ended up burning him, because yeah, that was not a good comment to make.
Yeah,
especially
I
someone
mean-
like, how much I was aware of the situation when that all played out.
Oh, yeah.
it's
I
like,
mean,
we saw his goodbye video, we saw the description on that video, his goodbye message and stuff, and none of that even closely alluded to Billy being part of the problem.
right.
So I don't know why he thought it was a good idea to come to that conclusion and publish that, but no, even as somebody who's a friend of the guy, again, I'm not slagging him off, but I don't think it was a good idea to publish that.
Yeah, I mean, and you were like extremely close with Apollo too. So the fact that even you didn't instantly, even at the time, like come to that conclusion, like, oh, Billy Mitchell killed him or whatever, right? It does say a lot there. So, but
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, well, damn. We appreciate the call in, man. We appreciate the information. This is exactly what we were looking for.
Yeah.
And I guess I just have to say, Connor, get fucked.
Okay, you're
Billy
lost.
Mitchell.
Oh my god.
Billy Mitchell's the king.
Billy Mitchell's
the
own
fucking king.
Investigator determined it was not a real record. Dumbass. So fuck
Okay,
you.
okay.
His own investigator determined it was not a legit record.
Yeah. Well, guess what? He's the king,
So
and you
you're
couldn't even
wrong.
do. You can even do you can even do a 12th of what Billy did. You could never step
I'm
in the
not
same
claiming.
shoes as the fucking king. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So.
All
Fucking
right. Well, thanks for having me on. You guys have a good stream. I've been kind of poking in a little bit to see you guys deal with the punishments and stuff, and I got to be honest, it's pretty funny.
You should look at the pepper.
Did
from
you
last
see the
night.
pepper?
If you missed that, check it out.
I did not see the pepper.
Oh,
I'll
you
have to go
Boy,
back and check it out.
check last night's VOD.
It's like the last hour, basically, when you go
yeah,
outside.
it's
Gotcha.
Pretty brutal. Augie took a huge habanero
Yeah,
pepper.
yeah.
It's the worst punishment we've had.
especially if
so
you want to shit on me too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good screenshots you can take from that.
far. Crying
For sure.
thumbnails.
All right,
I'll
man.
keep that in mind. All right, take
Yeah.
it easy and have a good stream, and see you later, faggots.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Every time.
I
he does
fucking knew he was